Hi, it's Brenda, and because it is Halloween week, I want to talk about one of the most famous and most controversial haunted house stories. This case took place in 1974 in Amityville, New York. Probably already know what I'm talking about because who has not heard of the Amityville Horror? I'm going to do it in my backyard because it is a beautiful fall evening, so hopefully that's not weird. So on November 13th in 1974, 23-year-old Ronald DeFeo shot and killed his entire family. His entire family consisted of four siblings, his mother, and his father. Well, why would that be controversial, you ask? I mean, it's tragic, but how does this tie into being such a famous case or such a controversial case? There's so much to this story. So, starting with just the family themselves, the DeFeo family. If you listen to interviews of the family, extended family that is, neighbors and friends of the DeFeos, you kind of get mixed stories. So some people describe the father, Ron Sr., as a great guy, a super family man, never missed one of his kids' ball games, funny, the kind of guy you'd want to throw burgers on the grill with on a Saturday. But a bunch of people described him as domineering, controlling, even abusive to his wife and his children. And it seems as though his relationship with Ronald Jr. was the most difficult of everybody in the family. And strange too, because on one hand it sounds like he kind of spoiled him and would give him money all the time, even though like Ron really didn't have to do anything to earn it or earn his keep or adult or do anything. And then there's a lot of talk that Ron Jr. was pretty heavy into drugs. So there was a lot going on. So you got dad kind of lavishing him with money, but on the other hand, Ron's friends would later talk about how like the dad would basically beat the crap out of him and demean him and it was just really mean to him. So the bottom line is we don't really know because unless you're in the house, you don't really know what goes on behind closed doors or what the dynamics of a family are. And let's face it, everybody in that house is now dead, so we don't know. Even Ron Jr. has since passed away in prison. He passed away at the age of 69 not that long ago. So, how does it become the Amityville Horror? Not because of the murders. I mean, that is horrifying, but that's not why it became known as the Amityville Horror. It may kind of start with the night he got arrested. So when Ronald, I'm going to call the younger one Ronald, when Ronald DeFeo got arrested, he told various stories to the police. He started with the mafia did it. Then he blamed it on his sister and said that she actually like killed the entire family and that he was wrestling the gun away from her and it went off and he accidentally killed her. Then he finally does confess to it. But when he does, he says that it was a demonic presence that caused him to kill his family. He said that he was watching TV when a figure cloaked in black came up to him or appeared to him, gave him the rifle, and insisted that he go and kill his family. And that he became possessed. And when he did, he went off and shot his entire family. So that is his various stories. One probably more ludicrous than the other. So Ronald gets convicted and there's a lot of talk, a lot of rumors, and a lot of speculation about what really happened that night because there are some oddities to the crime scene. For instance, all of the members in the family were found face down, sleeping on their stomach. And, this is six people. Not one person is in a different position. Not one person has woke up to the sound of gunshots or, attempted to get away or fight them off. And they found no, sedatives or drugs or anything in anybody's system to explain that. And also, no neighbors heard guns go off, even though, like, people had dogs, the DeFeos had a dog. So, yeah, so like nobody hears a thing. He somehow by himself shoots up six people dead. Nobody fights him off. Nobody hears a thing. Like, he's like the luckiest killer ever. But that led a lot of people to believe that there may have been somebody else involved. And some of the people that have kind of been named as possible co-shooters is one or more of Ronald's friends who may have been privy to kind of the life that Ronald was leading with his father, the abuse, as Ronald would undoubtedly have explained it to them, and some even say that they witnessed. But some people think that his sister Dawn was the co-shooter. Now, this would be the sister that he did blame it on. And I don't think anybody believes that she went off and like killed the entire family by herself. But, and then he rushes in and like tries to stop her and accidentally kills her. No. I don't think anybody believes that. But people do believe that she actually may have been the one to pressure him to kill the family and may have acted with him. And then either, my little son just brought me a flower. But he was only in his little boxers, so I was trying to push him out of the camera. So some people believe that she may have been very angry with the father, A, because of the abuse, but B, because she at that time wanted to move away with her boyfriend. Her boyfriend that she was seeing at the time was moving out of state. And I believe he might have actually been coming to Florida, but don't quote me. And she wanted to go with him, and the father just forbid it. So that may have been like the straw that broke the camel's back. Like she was done being controlled by her father. She was like essentially almost an adult at this point. So a lot of people think that she was kind of, really nagging at her brother to do this, and may have even done it with him. And then maybe he like freaked out and killed her for like whatever reason, either because he thought, better to not leave any other witnesses, or, somebody who could get him caught. Like, I don't know, but that's just some speculation. And then of course there's the paranormal speculation of, why all the bodies were, the way that they were left, and why nobody heard anything and whatever. But it really takes a turn. Well, another thing too is the father, apparently like a month-ish before the murders, had allegedly gone to the Catholic Church and told them that he had like a devil on his shoulder. He was saying that there was something evil around him or in his house. And neighbors did say he got weird in that like last portion of time and was like putting religious statues all over the outside of his house and the inside of his house. So that's a little weird. Whether or not this was just Ronald DeFeo, 23 years old, fed up with his father, mad at his mother because he felt that she, and I think he expressed this, that that she would always take up for the father. She would make excuses for him. She didn't stand up for herself. She didn't stand up for the kids. Whether this was just like an angry person who just like went on a rampage and killed his parents and then couldn't stop, or decided like the kids had to go too because either, I don't know, he didn't want to take care of them or he didn't want witnesses, or this was somebody who really was just out of his mind on drugs. Nobody knows. Nobody knows. Now, he did an interview right at the end of his life, like not that long before he died. And he maintained that there was something evil in his house. You know, I mean, maybe he just wanted to take the truth to the grave. You know, he just couldn't bring himself to say, like, I just, just like murdered my entire family for the hell of it for selfish reasons because I was sick of my father, like, whatever. I don't know. But less than a month later, a new family would move into the house. This was the Lutz family. It was George, his wife Kathy, and her 3 children from a previous marriage. And the realtor did tell them, this was the site of this like horrendous murder, but they got this house dirt cheap, even for the, the time period that it was, even for the 70s. This is a gorgeous house, and it's in a very, very nice neighborhood, nice location. It's a very, big house, a beautiful house. It has like a boathouse out back, and they paid like nothing for it. I think they paid like $80,000 for it. And it recently, now of course this is a long time later, but I think like not that long ago, sold for like $900,000. So they move in and they hear, or they go to see the house, and the realtor tells them this, and they're like, look, houses don't have memories, houses don't have like residual effects from, you know bad things that happen there. This house is a steal. We're taking it. And they did. They moved in. This was like their dream home. They were so excited. They weren't married that long before this. So this was like everything. This was like a new marriage, a new start, a beautiful new home. They are excited, but not for long, because they end up having the house blessed, which I don't know about like other religions, but I grew up Catholic. It's very, very common. You move into a new house, you have the priest come out, he does a blessing to the new home. And they had a priest come out, and like as soon as the priest comes in, he's like, going around saying his prayers, and this disembodied voice like yells at him like, "Get out. There's your sign. May not be the dream home you were looking for." But for some reason, they just went about their life. And all of a sudden, it's like every kind of thing that you can imagine to go into a haunted story starts happening. There is, the sounds, there is the apparitions. I mean, like, I'm not talking like a bump in the night. I'm talking like they would wake up in the middle of the night and hear invisible marching bands, like marching through their house, like full, drum ensemble, like the whole nine. They had a daughter who had this like demonic looking pig friend apparition thing that would hang out in her bedroom, and talk to her. The husband would wake up every single night at like 3:15 in the morning, which was the supposed or alleged time of the murders. It's just like everything that you could imagine was happening. Black, weird stuff coming out of, the toilets, like doors coming off the hinges, like blood running down the walls. Like, come on, like this was like outrageous stuff. So they lasted 28 days, and then they fled. They fled the house. They up and left. They left every one of their worldly belongings in this house. They didn't care. They didn't want it back. They were gone. And they had a whole bunch of like paranormal investigators come in and try to see what was in the house. Mediums, like seances were done. Ed and Lorraine Warren were in there. And the Lutz family would not enter the house. They were like, you have my permission to go in there and like investigate, find whatever it is that you're looking for, but like we are not stepping foot back in that house. Now, during this time, it made some press, and the Lutzes maintained that they never wanted any press, that they did not want the media to get a hold of the story. They just wanted like paranormal investigators to come in and, see what in the heck was going on. But it did blow up and it did become a big story. My air conditioner just kicked on over there, so I hope it's not too loud. So in the meantime, while all of this is blowing up, the family is being I don't want to say ridiculed exactly, but although the children, when they got older, did say that they were ridiculed, but a lot of people are speculating that they made it up. And one of the reasons that people gave was that they financially could not afford the house, and so that they were doing this for money. But the weird thing about that is, well, their mortgage wouldn't have been very much because the house was very cheap. But secondly, they were only there for 28 days. So, like, when you buy a house, your first payment is in, like, the escrow and the down payment and everything else, right? So you wouldn't even have been due for a mortgage payment in 28 days. I mean, it would have been coming up, and mostly it's like at least like 3 months or something, I would think, before you could go even really into foreclosure. So I mean, like, what I'm trying to say is, like, they were not that far in debt that they would have to be like, hey, like, we can't make the house payment, so like, let's make up a story about like the house being overrun with demons. I don't feel like that is a logical reason to do that if they made it up. They never returned to the house, ever, ever, ever. Eventually their stuff was sold off and the house was resold. They did end up meeting with Ronald DeFeo's attorney and basically said, like, look, like, he's telling the truth. Like, he's not crazy. He's telling the truth. Like, that house is demonic. So, like, they did reach out even to Ronald DeFeo's attorney and be like, listen, that house is haunted. It's possessed. Now, they ended up with their own attorney who got with them about writing a book. Okay, so this is where the book deal starts. And later, the author, Jay Anson, who wrote the book that became very, very popular, it was like a #1 bestseller way back, he says now that he sat down with a glass of wine, talked to them, and they made up the story. The Lutzes say, no, 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 no. No, the Lutzes have passed away, but like prior to them passing away, they said, no, 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 no. Yes, we sat down with him. Yes, there was a book deal. He's an author, so it's based on a true story, but like an author takes liberties, okay? You give them the copyright, like they give you a little portion of money, and, they have liberties when they're writing. So basically they were saying it is based on our story. It was based on actual events, but yes, he did inflate them. He did essentially, make it more, horrifying or whatever, so that he could have a blockbuster. And that happens all the time. I mean, you go to see all these horror movies, like, in the theater, and they're based on the actual events, but you kind of know that it's probably at least exaggerated a little bit, And even if you read the book of Amityville Horror and you watch the movie, the original, like from way back from the 70s, like, it doesn't even match up. Because I think, like, is it the movie? Or maybe it's the newer remake, but on one of them, I don't remember, but in one of them, like, Like the door actually like blows off the house, like the cellar, the portal of, you know, to hell in the basement, like erupts, like all this crazy stuff. Like that stuff was not even part of the story. Now, some of the stuff that they said, even I was like, come on now. Like, for instance, they said that their dog, Harry, tried to commit suicide in the boathouse, like by hanging himself. Can dogs even try to commit suicide? Do they even know what that is? Like, I don't think so. I have two dogs, and one of them is like brilliant. She's like a Mensa. She's like the smartest dog ever. The other one is like so adorable, but he is like as dumb as a bag of rocks. And he hangs himself all the time by accident. Just doesn't know any better. You know, he would like try to leap over something with, you know, a leash on and actually, you know, hang himself. So I don't think that the dog was like possessed or scared of a ghost and like was trying to kill itself. I just don't believe that. So I think that, you know, either they made up some stuff, which whatever, or they really believed that, because I have had some paranormal experiences happen to me, and as a result, I think what kind of happens is you either one of two things. You either start trying to rationalize it and make come up with logical reasons for what's happening, even if there is no logical reason for it, or you go the opposite way, and after like a couple of things happen, you start seeing the paranormal in everything. Sometimes that's me. And I've said this before in a video. Like, honest to God, if I were like sitting in my living room and the light blinked, like a normal person would be like, oh, I have to change the bulb, or, you know, I have to call an electrician. I would be like, the spirits are trying to contact me. It's like my dead mother. Look, the light's blinking. She's trying to talk to me. Like, that would be me. So, like, that could be what happened with them. But nonetheless, they maintained that their story was true. Embellished or not, that it was true. And all the way up till they died. Now, their children grew up. The daughter, like, kind of lives under, like, a different name. I mean, she's probably married. But, like, she doesn't seem to really want anything to do with being known as, like, the Amityville Horror girl. One of the sons kind of keeps to himself too and isn't very public, although he did say, this is interesting, he did say that yes, some things happened, but that George did exaggerate a lot of it. Then there's his son Danny, who was 10 years old at the time, and he did a documentary not too long ago called My Amityville Horror. And like, listen, I'm on his Facebook, everything. Like, Danny's a good guy, but I think he's got some emotional problems. And like, who wouldn't if you were the 10-year-old kid from Amityville Horror? Honey, go that way, baby. Go that way, sweetheart, because you don't have any pants on, sweet boy. Go that way, out of the camera. Go. Okay, we're gonna do this because you don't want to see like my little boy in his underwear. So cute, though. I just want to pinch him. So Danny says that it all happened. He does. He says it all happened. Danny says that it all happened, but he says that George brought it all on. I know. That would be kind of weird because Ronald DeFeo kind of said the same thing, that like the house was haunted. And, you know, that would have been long before George was there, right? But Danny says that when they moved in, that George was an asshole. That's what he says about his stepfather. He was an asshole. And that he was really into the occult and that he was mesmerized by living in the house of all those murders. And, you know, I don't even know what number that would be. Like, it's not a triple. It's not a quadruple. Like, I don't know. I don't know what 6 is. But, you know, he was excited about living there. And that he was very much into the occult. And that Danny believes that George brought everything on and caused all of this stuff to happen. So I don't know. I don't know, Danny. Like, I'm not doubting you because you lived through it and I didn't. But my thought to that would be, I mean, I guess that could be true. Because, like, if Ronald DeFeo really, there was no ghost, there was no demon, there was no nothing, he was just out of his mind on drugs, or he just hated his parents and killed them, then I guess that could make sense if, like, a new person moves in and then, sorry, I have to hold this now because I had to get up from where my son was and, like, I had to move my little stick thing that holds the phone. So, if you were really into the occult, right, so you buy this house where you find out that 6 murders have taken place, and now you're just like, whoa, like, let's have a seance, like, let's get out the Ouija board. Like, this is what Danny says. Danny says, like, there was Ouija boards, there was, like, all these weird occult books, there was, like, all this weird stuff going on. And he says that, yes, this stuff happened, but George is the one that drudged it all up. Because if there was, you know, some kind of lingering something there, and along comes somebody with, you know, the Ouija boards and the whole bit, like, now, but then the question would be, so is it being, I have to check on my pigs, I'm sorry. So then the question would be, is it being haunted by the DeFeo family? Because now I'm confused, because if we're going to say that Ronald just committed the murders of his own free will, not because it was like devils and demons, and then George brought about all of this stuff with his Ouija boards, his seances, and his whatnot, you know, then I don't know. Like, so then who's haunting it? Like, there was really demons there, or the DeFeo family? Because no, I don't want to say that, because they were children. That's like no. We could surmise that Ronald was telling the truth and there was demonic forces, and then George moves in and drudges them back up. I don't know. Now poor George. Now I'm like convinced that George is conjuring up demons. I don't know. My son is so freaking adorable. Can't show you him because he's in his underwear, but he has my tripod thingy that would hold the phone if I wasn't holding it, and he's chasing me around the property holding it. He's like, here, you forgot this. Thank you, baby. And I keep frantically walking away from him.
Don't need it. Just let me have it, because anyways I need it too.
Ah!
Is that broke?
Okay. Well, anyway, we're gonna close this out. Okay, that's a light though, pumpkin, so hold it. We're gonna close this out because I'm actually frantically running away from my child because I don't want to talk about this subject in front of him. And when I started this video, he was like coloring and doing his own thing in the house, but now he's here under my feet. So give me your thoughts. Tell me what you know about the story, how much you know about the story. Here's going to be my opinion. Here's the bottom line. Here's my takeaway. I think, So, okay, so I went there. In last December. I was on my way back from Massachusetts. I live in Florida. And we stopped there because I wanted to see it in person. I've always wanted to see the house in person. So yes, I was one of those obnoxious people who creepishly just like walked up to the house and stood there. Well, there was a neighbor who came out, And I was like, oh my gosh, like, I know, I'm sorry, I'm that person. I know, as neighbors, you have to be like so fed up with people, like standing here, like on the lawn, gawking at the house, like doing whatever. And she was like, yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I said to her, I said, well, one of the main reasons that people say that they don't believe in the story is because all the people that have lived there since have said that nothing has happened. There's nothing in the house. It's just an ordinary house. And she said to me, okay, Scouts honor, Scouts honor. This is what the neighbor said to me. She said to me, yeah, well, she said the people that like live there now, she said, the first night that they moved in, they told me that when they went to bed that night, the radio downstairs turned on by itself and started playing. On God, the neighbor told me this. The neighbor of Amityville Horror. Like, I kid you not. I swear on it, on like a stack of Bibles, which would be a really odd thing to do in the middle of talking about a demon house. But whatever. This is what she told me. Okay, this is what she told me. So now I'm thinking like, okay, so maybe all these other people did have experiences, but thank you. But they didn't want, yeah, they didn't want to say because they didn't want people, coming around their house because they say it's awful. Like everybody comes around their property. Everybody sits in front of the house. They even had to legally change the address of this house. So,
what's your
all right, well, in the house. Okay, well, I'm going to go because my child needs me and probably my family wants to eat dinner. But like I want to get this out there because okay, I'm following you because it is Halloween week and I've done a lot of like recent current events.
Mommy, I have to be a train.
Okay, you're a train.
I have to be at the train station first.
Okay, hold on. Let Mama finish up. 2 seconds. I've been doing a lot of current event videos lately, but like it was supposed to be a paranormal channel in the beginning, so that would be like so ridiculous if Halloween week came and I did not do any paranormal videos. So that's it. Have a great night. Tell me what you know of the story. Tell me if you do know the story. Tell me if you think it was true. Well, I guess I never wrapped it up with my thought. I think it's haunted. I think it's haunted. I think that there was some evil in the house. I think there's still some evil in the house. It could very well be that people that have come and gone over the years, it may be that, either they weren't as sensitive to it, they just, it wasn't the right conditions to bring it out, if you know what I mean. And I think the DeFeos was the right conditions because the house had so much negativity in it if what they say about the father was true. And then there was young, like preteens and teens in the house. And, a lot of people believe that can bring it on. And I think that the conditions were right when the Lutzes got there. If Danny's telling the truth, which I have no reason to believe that Danny would be lying about it, then you have somebody walk in and be like, hey, like murder house, break out the Ouija board, right conditions. Probably the people that came in after were just like normal run-of-the-mill average people who maybe just like didn't believe in it or like whatever. And so, the conditions just weren't right to spur it up or to unleash it. Thank God. Thank God. So tell me what you think. Do you think it was a hoax? Do you think it was true? Do you even know what the story is? So that's it. I gotta go. Gotta go do life things. Bye.